Hallelujah. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Blessed be the name of Yahweh. Total Rabah Abiyah for being our great king. Total Rabah for being our deliverer. Total Rabah for being our refuge, our strong tower. Total Rabah for keeping us safe. Abba, please forgive us for our sins, our transgressions, and our iniquity. And please forgive the sins and transgressions and iniquity of our ancestors. For we know that you are merciful, Elohim. And Abba, I also ask that you may give us the strength to forgive one another. And Abba, I ask that vengeance will not take hold upon us. And I ask that you may remove any vain thoughts from us. Abba, I ask that we will not take matters into our own hands, for vengeance belongs unto you. But give us the strength to love one another. And if we have to separate, Abba, give us the wisdom to do so. But as if it be your will, you may bring us back together again. Abba, give us the strength to do what is right, even if it seems difficult, even if it seems impossible. Abba, give us the strength not to be like the nations, but give us the strength to be set apart. Abba, I ask that you may circumcise our hearts, wash us, make our garments white, purge us with hyssop. Abba, I ask that we will not be filthy within your face, but Abba, I ask that we could be clean, righteous men before your face, strong men ready to do your service. Abba, I ask that we will not be afraid to do what you have required of us. And I ask that none of the men on this call or the men who are not on this call will be afraid to take up more responsibilities. Abba, I want you to total about for the things that you have already blessed us with. And I ask that you may continue to bless us as we seek your face daily. Abba, I ask that we will not desire a lifestyle that is contrary to your Torah. But Abba, I ask that we will all desire to please you. I ask that we will all desire to see your face. For you are not an Elohim who takes pleasure in wickedness, but you are an Elohim who takes pleasure in righteousness. For your Torah is the truth. Your Torah is life. Abba, I ask that we will continue to strive for truth. Abba, I ask that we will not be slack in this walk, but ask that we would give 100% even beyond that. Abba, I ask that you may forgive us for the times when we did not give 100%, but we know that you are merciful Elohim. Abba, I ask that we will not see your mercy and grace as an opportunity to sin, for you have given no man a license to sin. But Abba, I ask that we will see your grace and mercy as an opportunity to get closer to you, for you are our life. Abba, I ask that you may remember those who are sick, those who may be afflicted, those who may be poor. Please remember the widow, the fatherless, and please remember those who are battling things within the mind. Abba, please remember those who are afflicted. And I ask if it be in your will, you may use us, your service, to help those who are afflicted, to help those who are in need. Abba, I ask that you may hear this tefillah, this prayer, if it be in your will. But we know that you are Elohim that can do all things. And please bless us with the patience and the faith, the imunah, to have confidence in you, to believe in you, to trust in you, to be patient. Let your will be done always. Amen, amen, sir.
Shalom, Don, you speaking on mute.
Okay, I got you. Shalom Lecha, Leila Tov. We're going to go ahead and get started. With the Milah Min Shaitan Rajim, Baruch Atah Yahweh, Lehenu Melecha Olam, Natan Asher Torah, Kedeshenu B'mitzvotav V'tvanu V'yikari Hashem, Al Pei Yahweh Yisu, Ki Yahweh Ru'i Lo Akasar. Hunaneh Yahweh, Leshemor Harregel Shali B'mitzvot Tzadik, Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad, וחפת את אדוני אלוהיך ובכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. כן. I think it's it's interesting, kind of building on Tehillim 133, how good and pleasant it is for the brothers to dwell together in unity. And focusing on this concept, I think like what we talked about last week, in terms of the levels of love, right? You have ahava, which is the highest form of love, but it starts with kesed, and then rachamim, mercy or compassion, and then it goes to dodim, tata'ah, which is a love that is built, that is conditional. And then that love that is conditional, when you grow or mature beyond that, right? One might even say, when I was a child, I thought, spoke, and acted as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. Then you move to Dodim Elyon. Now, the reason I stated that, Ruach, most I put it in my Ruach, is that children have a very pure and innocent love, but it is often conditional on the things in which you give a child, right? Versus as they begin to mature, then that child then, much is probably the same with all of us. We begin to love and appreciate our parents beyond the things that they did, more so for the things or the principles in which they represented, knowingly or unknowingly, Tov or Ra, okay? Then once you move beyond the Dodim Elyon, that third phase of love, then you move to the highest phase of love, which is Ahava. Ahava, we stated, was a cleaving. The reason I think that it was interesting that he prayed the way that he prayed is because the lesson in which that the Most High gave me to share tonight, or really rather to study, the Shiorim, the study, is going to be about agreement. So, all right. So first of all, before we get into that, I get into my discourse. When you all hear agreement, because we all say it, and the reason I prefaced it like that is because we all say, I love you, right? I love that brother. I love that sister. But what we found out last week is you really might not love that brother or sister, or even the Torah, or even the Most High. You might not have really cleaved to the Most High. And how can we know that? Well, even though our righteousness be as filthy rags, for me to continuously have a confession that I'm trying to get something right, it kind of sheds light on how you might say, my lack of focus or commitment towards purifying myself to, in terms of raising my level of Kedushin to be accepted by the Most High. But we say that word love the same way we say, well, we need unity. So when you all hear unity, what's some things that you all think of? What are some things that you hear? Anybody or anything? What are some things that you hear when we talk about unity?
I think about binding.
Binding. Okay. Keep going.
A group of people working together for one common cause.
Okay. One cause.
I think about power. I think about power.
Okay.
I think about you knit it. Instead of united, you knit it.
You knit it. Okay. So far, I'm glad you said that. Shalom, Ak. Shalom.
I hear about.
Shalom.
Go ahead. You hear about what?
Obviously the key word is unit, but when I see unity, I don't see particular like everybody has to agree on one thing, but I think everybody moves on the same step for something.
All right, let me stop y'all right there. All right, I like that. So that brother right there that spoke, he is a master team builder. He's an expert in that and amongst other things. I would say that there are more Morehs who are not Morim officially than there are that are actually Morim. So three things I heard three different things. So one talked about two talked about the process, right? Actually, matter of fact, Adon Yaquan, Jay, can you say what you said again? Because that's gonna really be the basis of the lesson.
Unity, we all know the root word is unit within unity, but when I hear unity, at least from my background, I feel that just you don't have to agree on something to move in the same step as another person. That's my.
So that's the lesson. We could all go on. All right. So I heard three things. I heard most people, when they think about unity, they think same thing with love. They think about what the fruit of unity produces, right? Progress, success, salvation, deliverance, right? Working together on one accord. But before you get there, two people talked about the process, cleaving, right? Being knitted, integrated, right? And the agreement process. And then Brother Jaquan really laid the foundation of it all, really, in terms of the entire lesson. Has anybody heard of the term co-regulation autonomic nervous system? It's okay if you haven't. I didn't hear about it until last week, but I promise you, you know what it is. Co-regulation autonomic nervous system. Anybody know what that is?
Nope.
Dang. All right, I wouldn't. I'd be like, man, I barely made it through high school. Tripping. All right. So here's what it is. And I pray that y'all hear me, and we're going to get into the debar for those that's like, man, where are the scriptures? The earth is Yah's and the fullness. These things are what man in his wisdom have delineated from the Torah, if only he would just go right back. So this is what it is. Co-regulation is as applied to the autonomic nervous system in your body is relatively a recent new concept in the field of psychology, neuroscience, and interpersonal biology. While this term is not widely used yet, right, it refers to the process by which the physiological and the emotional states of two or more individuals are synchronized during social interaction. Everybody heard what I said? There is a new concept of psychology, right? Fairly new, like last 5, 6, 7 years, within the last decade. And it is the study of psychology, neuroscience, and interpersonal biology that shows how the physical body and the emotions, and thus the psychology, the thought processes of two or more individuals synchronize through social interactions. Now, ain't that something? Don't that sound kind of familiar? Right? Autonomic nervous system, which regulates many of our internal processes. Check this out. It regulates your heart, your digestion, even your stress response is highly sensitive to our emotional state of being. And during now this is what the medical journals are saying about this. During the positive social interactions of this, all the participants tend to relax, which can lead to feelings of calm, safety, so forth and so on. So they ran these experiments and they looked at the test. They did thousands and thousands of people over a vast diaspora of people. And they looked at how people respond together when they're in a stressful state versus when they are in a state of tranquility. One might even say a state of wickedness, right? Or ra'aim, being wicked or evil, or one might say in a state of zedekim, being righteous. Now, what does being righteous mean? Righteous means to abide within the confines that are set by the law. That's all that means. It ain't got nothing to do with super spiritual. It ain't got nothing to do with how your garments look or none of that. It means if you keep the law, if I keep the law of the land, then I am now deemed righteous, right? If I break the law of the land, then I am deemed an outlaw. I am outside of the law, and by definition of the Torah, I am considered a ra'aim, an evil person. Now, the title of this lesson is called Netiv Leno Adnu. Netiv Leno Adnu, and it means the path of agreement. All right. So when we talk about this so far, does anybody have anything that they want to add, change, or input based on the path of agreement now that I have defined kind of the basis of what we're going to be talking about? Anybody have any different thoughts? No? Okay. Or maybe we preoccupied. So to recap, the co-regulation of the autonomic nervous system is a study that deals with how people are affected based on their associations. To me, that sounds like don't be deceived, bad company, corrupt good morals. And it also sounds like the foundation scripture or pasuk that we're going to be talking about today, Amos 3:3. How can two walk together except first they be agreed? Now, why is that so important? Now, I think a lot of times, like what Aki Jaquan says, that people think that agreement means that we kind of move the same, think the same to a certain extent, right? Or that we both are seeing things from the same vantage point. It doesn't even mean that. It means that really we are moving towards a common goal based on, let's go back to what we talked about last week, Kesed, which we stated was a type of love that was conditional based on the contract. So now, what that means is that, like we talked about with love, it ain't got nothing to do with how you look, how much substance you got. It has everything to do with the contract. This is the contract. So this contract, it brings me into a bond of Kesed with you all so that way we can achieve agreement and therefore have progress. Ultimately, this journey of love and Kesed leads us to Rachamim, Dodim Tata'ah, Dodim Elion, and finally to Ahava, when we are now cleaving together. And I believe at that point, the cleaving together is the point in which Amos 3:3 truly comes alive. How can two walk together except they be agreed? So let's explore this. So there are many different concepts throughout the Tanakh that have to do with unity, both Tov and Ra, right? So, and I think what's important for us to understand, sometimes as Israelites or Jews or whatever you refer to yourself as, right, we have this concept, this ignorance really, regarding the Torah. We tend to think that it does not work unless you do what we might deem good or Tov, and that's not true. The Torah and the name of the Most High is, you know, if you look into it, is everlasting. It's going to work regardless of what role, what place you see yourself in it. If you want to be evil, it's going to work to do the things towards the evil or the wicked. If you want to be righteous, it's going to work to do those things. So agreement works in much the same fashion. You can agree in wickedness, you know, such as we see in Tehillim 1, blessed the man that, right? It gives you all these different things. It also says don't agree with brothers that lie and wait for blood, right? So let's look at some of these concepts. Unity and common purpose. We're going to be in Bereshit. You can just kind of write them down. You don't necessarily got to go to them. Bereshit 11:1-9 refers to the Tower of Babel, where the whole earth was agreed and spoke one language and had one speech. Even though the end result was confusion and scattering, right? Because the Most High was not in the midst due to pride and other things. Initially, the advancement of this, even their dispersal, happened as a byproduct of an unrighteous agreement, right? Collective worship, Vayikra 23:1-4, where the Israelites are commanded to observe sacred festivals together. Keep that in mind. I keep saying one of the most basic forms of Tzaddikim, fulfilling righteousness, is keeping the Moedim together. Super simple. It's super simple. That's beyond the names, the garments, and all of that, because that's what's written. Collective worship, Wayikra 23, 1 through 4, where the Israelites are commanded to observe sacred festivals together, illustrating unity and worship and a shared religious experience. One of the things that I thought about in the definition that I previously gave from the psychological journal, in terms of how a person's physiology and psychology is affected by who they are around. I thought about brothers and sisters, okay, so we don't single nobody out, who are fearful of the faces of men to put wickedness from among them. They are fearful to call out the things that they see within their own community as wicked. They're fearful to do those things. So if you are fearful to execute judgment swiftly, which again is a mitzvah, right? How is it that we can expect any sense of unity? Even more, how can we expect to be a living mishkan for the Shekinah of the Most High? By virtue of what the scientists, these secular goyim, have found, they have proven that the Torah given to our forefathers is true. Salvation, redemption, healing, prosperity, success, all the positive things that are a result of fulfilling the mitzvah, which are clean, could never come in the midst of a people that have not circumcised themselves from among themselves. You have to set yourself apart in order for the Most High to elevate your level of kedushin to be truly set apart. So that's kind of something to think about when you have whoremongers, you have rapists, you have narcissists, you have criminal. I mean, you have people that are downright crazy because we have not vetted the Knesset or Israel, the Ummah, the community of people, right? And we let anybody in. And therefore, like it says, when there was no king, everyone is doing what's right in their own eyes. Something to think about. The collective response to leadership is another way we are exposed to agreement within the Tanakh. Yehoshua 1:16 through 18, where the Israelites respond to Yehoshua's leadership with the statement, all that you command us, wherever you go, we will go. This illustrates unity and agreement behind a leader, a centrifuge, a leader who has entered into agreement and covenant with the Most High. Okay, now, yeah, let's just go here. We'll come back to that later. So some of the other commentaries that we read throughout the Tanakh often allude to such a mystical kind of concept of unity and agreement. But at the core belief of all of it is the aspect of reality, spirituality, and our physicality is interconnected and aligned with one another, right? This is where we see certain instances like the Ruach of Pinchas, right? Removing the leprosy or the plagues and the sickness from among us. This is this is an insight into why these mitzvahs were given in the manner in which they were given. At face value, somebody might think that it is extreme. It is extreme to go to such measures, right? But what the Most High teaches us is that the same way that a Debar Elohim in the heart of a man is planted like a mustard seed, so is the seed of the adversary. And so we must constantly endeavor to work and uproot and to supplant and put the axe of the Debar at the root of every tree that doesn't even bear good fruit. And as it states, you know, judgment starts at the house of the Most High. Should we be the house of the Most High, right? The harmony that we seek in our relationship, it reflects the ultimate unity of the Creator and His creation, which is interesting because there's this symbiotic nature that everything in creation has, even with its creator, except mankind. Mankind is the only one that tries to supersede or superimpose his law over the natural Torah of the Most High. But Midbar 28:2, and now this is where we're going to kind of come back to one of the initial examples that I gave with regards to a concept of unity within the Tanakh of the Moedim. if for nothing else, one can say the Moedim are about agricultural feasts. Another could say the Moedim are about astrological anomalies and experiences that they were having. Another could say, well, the Moedim are a bunch of laws and statutes that are given, so we got to keep these things very rigorously. But at the heart of the Moedim, it's about gathering. And more importantly, it's about gathering in a spirit of love, a love that produces or breeds the fruit of harmony, where we can all collectively call upon the name of the Most High and plead our case, right? Plead our case. One might even say that the Moedim are even a time where the Most High judges us to see if what we say is true. Because everything that we do throughout the year, the Shabbats, the Zeeks, the Hebrew names, right? The bar mitzvahs, the Torah portions, the lessons. If we think about it, all of these things are geared towards fostering a sense of unity and agreement amongst the people. But the major opportunity that we have in order to agree, we don't. Now, remember what we talked about agreement. Now, that word for agreement actually is the same at its root, is tri-consonantal root as the word for Moedim. It's the exact same root. The word for agreement that we find in Amos 3:3 is the exact same root of the word that we find in Moedim. Bamidbar 28:2. El Elyon commands the Israelites, be careful to present to me at its appointed time the food of my offerings by fire as a pleasing aroma to me. This phrase appointed time is Moadu, right? Or Moedim if you add the mem on the end, the final mem. It shares the same root, aid, as agreed, right? Does anybody know what aid means? I'll spell it, Yod, Ayin, Dalet. Anybody know what that word means? Yod. So the tri-consonantal root, Yod, Ayin, Dalet, okay, is the same root word that we use to spell out the word Moedim, and the same root word that we use to spell out Naidunu, which is the word for agreement. So what does the word Yod, Ayin, Dalet mean?
I looked it up earlier, Moreh, but I believe it means to meet.
To meet? Okay. Close. Anybody else?
I'll take a shot. I say it means unity.
It means what?
Unity.
Okay. Somebody else?
Agreement?
Close. We getting there.
A point.
Okay. All these things are a byproduct of this. If you drop the Yod, Ayin and Dalet actually means witness.
Witness, yes.
It means witness. So this is your homework, to meditate. Meditate on what Moedim, Naidanu, and witness all have in common. How do they intersect? How do they intersect? One might say that if I go to the appointed time, I have agreed to be a witness. One might say I am a witness if I agree to be there at the appointed time. One might say at the appointed time, if I witness, then I will agree. Agree to what? The ketuvah. So that's your homework, to kind of think about how those things might intersect. Amos 3:3 links agreement with divine service and timing. Okay, this is not really a long lesson. I think it's kind of very straightforward. The Tanakh teaches us that agreement or unity is fundamental to functioning of our relationships, our communities, reflecting the intrinsic unity of all creation. Moreover, the spiritual aspects of it, or sod, right, understanding invites us to perceive agreement not just as a social principle, but as a divine attribute mirroring the harmonious relationship of Yah. To agree from a Torah perspective is more than just to have a matching opinion or ideas. It is about a coming together, a cleaving, right? So now love is demonstrated by cleaving, coming together, a coming together in unity, or echadot, which is synonymous with achavah, and purpose to serve a greater good. This concept is not just about passive alignment, but it's about an active partnership in shared values, goals, and actions. Okay. And I'll say this as a beeline, right? That also means that I must be engaged with my brother to know what he needs and to provide the service of what he needs. And in like manner, my brother does the same. There's this, again, this symbiotic relationship. You know, our entire social construct is built within the Torah. You know, what really it amounts to is, one, are we seeking it out? And two, are we willing? Like it says, who shall I send? Or they had the Torah, but there's still sickness among them. These kind of principles that we see throughout the Nevi'im, it shows us that merely having the Torah is not enough. You know, I posed a question last week. I said, did they lose the Torah and Ezra found it? Or did they not understand the Torah and Ezra found the understanding? It's something you gotta, I would think about, I think about. So this concept is not just about passive alignment, it's about active partnership and shared values, goals, and actions. In the Torah, agreement often implies commitment and covenant, kesed, right? Kesed based on a ketuvah. As we can see in Shemot 19:5, where the Israelites agreed to follow God's commandments, and in turn, the Most High agrees to make them a kingdom of priests and a holy nation, right? Agreement, therefore, signifies a reciprocal relationship, a covenant where both parties are bound by their word, by their promises. Agreement, man, that's interesting. Let me share a little anecdote real quick. So I was in the store the other day, and I was buying my food, and there was this Jew behind me. You know, this Ashkenazi Jew. So they rung up some of his stuff with my stuff. I wasn't even paying attention. I had already paid for it. I like swipe my card and put it up. I do that all the time. So when they was bagging everything up, he was like, no, that's my stuff. And they were like, oh, we already paid for it, we rung it out. So what they had charged was like $6. It's like $6, right? It was some garlic at that. And so they were like, well, in order to take it off, Mr. Salam, we're gonna have to redo the entire transaction. We're gonna have to refund all your money. You're gonna have to go all the way to the other side of the store. I said, it's not even that serious. I said, it don't even matter. So, and again, I'm in there chilling, looking like I normally do. So the Jew starts to say, well, what's your Zelle and what's your Cash App? And at this time, he don't know who I am or anything like that. And the reason I'm talking about this is because it falls in line, one, with your level of agreement with the Torah, and it falls in line with your earnestness and aggressiveness with fulfilling a mitzvah. So here it is, this white Jew, this European Jew, right, who might, for other intents and purposes, say he's not European, but he's European Jew. He's trying to ask me all these forms of payment that I had. And at this point, I'm walking out of the store. And I'm talking in English with him, but I turn around and I say, Kol Beseder, Shavua Tov, Shalom Aleichem. And his wife almost dropped everything she had in her hand, naturally, right? So I'm out there putting the groceries in my car, $6. He comes out the store 10 minutes later as I'm putting my cart up, and he's a big boy. He like 6'3", about 200-some pounds. He running me down and leave a large sum of money in my window shield and walk off. So when I walk back to my car and I see it, I take it off. I try to get his attention and tell him that it wasn't necessary, right? But then I say, Baruch Hashem. The point that I'm trying to make is that one, this guy, you know, whatever you believe about him, in fulfillment of the Torah, one, he endeavored not to leave my presence with a debt. Two, he endeavored or fought aggressively to meet the perfect will of the Most High, to establish agreement and balance in a situation that was unkilted, right? It was off balance. And I brought that up because that requires a level of humiliation, right? Transparency. In a community and culture that has been taught to be very secretive and detached from one another, which is not even our nature. That's more their nature, right? So here it is, this brother, this white brother, ran me down to put 4 or 5 times what I paid for in my hand to make restitution before what he would call Hashem. And the question I ask is, would I do that to my own brother, or would my own brother do that to me? Moreover, the question that I ask in terms of to establish agreement, moreover, the question that I ask is, would I run my brother down to pay restitution for something that I heard evil put on his name? The other question that I ask is, would I run my brother down to reprove or rebuke him for something that I see him doing that will cause him to go astray? And would I run my brother down in a desire to fulfill the mitzvah in agreement with my brother of the Most High Yah, such as the Moedim? Agreement also carries the concept of shalom, which most people think is peace, right? Shalom does not mean peace. Shalom actually means to pay what is owed. To pay what is owed. So if I say, and this, again, this is one of them concepts that's like ani ahabatah. We don't even kind of know what we're saying. If I'm saying shalom, the intention behind that is that I am ready and willing to fulfill my God-given duty to restore, to replenish anywhere within you that there is lack. How can two walk together except they be agreed? How good and pleasant is it for brothers to dwell together in unity? The word shalom, coming from Shin Lamed Mem, it means to pay restitution, meaning that something was there and was removed, but it was removed for the opportunity for me to come and fill the void. When I ask you, ma shlomcha, or ma shlemech, right? I'm asking not how is your peace, I'm asking, are you balanced? Are you whole? Now, most people say, yeah, I'm all right, I'm cool, I'm chilling. But then if we kind of get into it, most people are not cool, they are not chilling, they are not all right. They are not whole individuals. So then the question now becomes, as a brother or a sister or a Moreh or a student, a Talmudim, do I now possess the Debar Elohim that I've hidden in my heart, the living waters that should come out of my breath? Do I possess these things in order to restore balance to my brother? We call that tikkun olam, repairing the breach through agreement. So shalom does not mean peace, but it means more so a sense of completeness and harmony. The Torah puts a great emphasis on the importance of peace within community or the Ummah. In Tehillim 34:14, it commands us to seek peace and pursue it. Go pursue it. Like it tells you, put your offering down, go and make restitution with your brother. Moreover, the Moedim might have been an opportunity to make restitution with your brother. Therefore, agreement from the Torah perspective goes beyond just a simple concept, and it's more about actively pursuing unity, peace, and communal well-being, okay? And keep in mind, the very nature of the name of the Most High is to render or give that which is given. If I give division, then we shall remain divided. If I give unity, then we shall be unified. If I give love, then I shall receive love. If I give hate, then I shall receive hate. If I give correction, then when I need it, I shall obtain correction. Right? Comparatively, in the ancient Near East, agreements were also considered binding and were often formalized through treaties, contracts, and covenants, mainly blood covenants. These agreements were typically conditional and could involve anything from trade to marriage contracts. However, while both the Torah and ancient Near East cultures view agreement as binding and as a binding and important agreement, the Torah places a particular emphasis on spiritual and ethical implications of these things. For the Israelites, to be in agreement is to be in alignment with the perfect will of the Most High and his mitzvah. All right. Let's see. Okay. And his mitzvah. Versus in contrast with the ancient Near East, agreements often were more secular and transactional, dodin, tata'ah, in nature. So that also supports the nation of priests. The Most High was elevating us to a higher level of love. So when we talk about raising Kedushim, we're talking about raising your love, raising your agreement, right? And again, going back to the initial opening stanza or thesis rather of what agreement is in terms of the autonomic nervous structure that is set up by the Most High inside of us. The Most High has commanded the Torah of our bodies to synchronize with our very environment. This is why it is imperative, and also even, one might even say, an oral mitzvah. One is a written and the other is oral. I would say the oral aspect of it is to endeavor to be in a city that is righteous and God-fearing, okay? Because the environment affects your well-being. The written mitzvah that we read all the time, several times a year, is never forsake the gathering of the brethren, okay? Right? In doing so, we replenish, we balance, we pay restitution, we complete, and we also are offered an opportunity to be reproved and to prove. And I'll end with this. The highest form of unity or agreement that we see throughout the Tanakh is iron will always sharpen iron. With that, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable in the sight of the Most High. Shalom Aleichem, Am Yisrael. All right, I'll open up the floor for any comments, any corrections, any reproof, or anything like that. Total Rabbah.
Yeah, for short notice, that was a very good lesson, Moreh, and very much appreciated. Total Rabbah.
Okay, load the bar.
Shalom, Don. Told lesson, Don. I had my days mixed up. I could have sworn you said you had something that follow up from last week, this week. So told out, Don.
Yeah, it's all told, bro. You know, ain't no thing, man. I love the words, so we can get in it anytime, any day. I was gonna confirm and I didn't, but even when you said it, it was like most I was like, go ahead and get it out. And I think it's important because I got out the initial phase of what he put in my heart and made room, and it's gonna make room for other things, including hearing the feedback of my brothers in agreement to help make restitution and replenish me. So yeah, ain't no thing, brother. Appreciate the opportunity.
Shalom, Moreh.
So-
I don't agree with nothing you said. No, I did. A great lesson, man. A great lesson. I definitely learned something tonight.
Okay, so the
Ken, my connection was going in and out, but what I did hear, I would say it's told. I agree with the parts that I understood and the parts that I heard. And when you were going over that situation with the Ashkenazi, and then you were talking about how shalom doesn't really mean peace, it means restitution. You're supposed to something's supposed to be given back in a sense to restore. I would say the environment of the people. And I was thinking about just that, how much work it takes to do something like that, and then it kind of goes back to everything else though, because I think about the Torah, I work on certain things, depending on what season it is. Like I remember one season I'm working on the feast, keeping the feast, presenting myself the best way possible. Another season working on shalom, another season maybe working on, getting my heart right, dedication to the Most High. And I think about all these things. It's a lot of work, and I kind of got like, it kind of made me think how much more work I have to do. It's kind of like I'm still, I'm here, but there's still a lot more work that I have to do. But I feel like it's one of those situations. If I get past, one point, if I hit one milestone, maybe everything else will fall in place. Because like I said, when you're going through this, I just think about it's a whole lot. It's like when you're high school, college, and when you first take the class, oh, this is an easy class. Then you get to the end of the semester, it's like all this new information is being brought out, and you're like, oh man, I have to catch up. So. But like I said, told blessing, it made me it gave me motivation to just to do more. I'll just leave it at that. How you?
okay, that's told. So what does that mean? How do you make your class easier if we're going to use that analogy? What do we naturally do in school to make the learning easier?
Study more, and just more discipline.
Lolo, there's there's a certain answer that fits into what we're talking about. What do we naturally do in school to make learning easier?
Get a tutor.
Close.
To the teacher. Let's talk to the teacher more.
Close. Something so simple. It's called a study group. Because now, instead of one mind, with all the 100% of the information, I now have 10 minds, a minyan, with each taking a specialty in 10% of the information. Collectively, we are 100. And isn't that what Jethro told Moshe, peace be upon him? He said, this matter right here is too hard for you. Go and find some like men in whom the Ruach of Yah is in them and delegate. So now he took one task and he divided it amongst many with the same mind, but towards the same goal and the same aim. This is what we naturally do. The Torah is a communal, the Torah, it's not a Knesset practice. It is even elevated. It left being a familial practice after Itzhak. The Torah is a communal practice. It cannot be fulfilled without a community. It's impossible. Cain, told response, don't. Anybody else?
Well, yeah.
Anybody else?
Yes, Zarkane Eliyahu has his hand up, and Sorry Yosef has his hand up.
Oh, okay, Cain, y'all go ahead and speak. I don't be watching the hand. Y'all go ahead and just jump in. Like a
All
mosh
right.
pit.
I want to say I'm somewhat bereft of the fact that I
got in much later than I would have desired to, missing, I gave the introduction. But that which I've heard is so on point for where we are today, having been dispersed and sifted throughout the nations. And our coming together is critically important, absolutely critically important. And the fact that you touched on how Torah is communal and the aspects that it is physiological, psychological, as well as spiritual, all combined, is how I see this thing being walked out correctly as we seek out the old paths, as we endeavor to get back to the place of where we should have been. So the exegete that you've presented this evening is outstanding as far as I can see and tell. And I look forward to the recording to listen in its entirety and unpack and dissect even more. I yield.
Total Rabazo came. KhenukYah. I can't see who got their hand up. Whoever that is can speak.
Sorry, yourself.
It's yourself, just yourself.
Oh,
Okay.
hey,
What's
Shalom,
going
man.
on, Akid? Hey, Shalom, what's going on? Hey, man.
That's how I feel. I'm just Khenuk. I ain't Moreh Khenuk, you know.
Okay. So I'm in the same vein as the elder that just spoke. I had some work that was done in my backyard. So slick out for my tardiness for jumping in, but there's no time like the present. I say it like that. So all praise to the Most High for even allowing me the moment to have with this, and I think it was perfect timing. And what I gathered and what I heard, I'm going to read something first, and then give my my quick thoughts, and I'm gonna lay my plane on that. So I'm gonna go to the book of Bereshit, chapter 26, verse 26. And it reads, and Abimelech came to him from Gerar with Akuzat, one of his friends, and Pichol, the commander of his army. And Yitzchak said to them, why have you come to me, seeing that you have hated me and have sent me away from you? But they said, we have clearly seen that Yahweh is with you. And we said, please, let there be an oath between us, between you and us, and let us make a covenant with you, that you do no evil to us, as we have not touched you, and as we have done only good towards you, and have sent you away in peace. You are now blessed by Yahweh. And he made them a feast, and they ate and drank. And he rose early in the morning and swore an oath to one another. And Yitzchak let them go, and they departed from him in peace. So to give my thought, based on what I heard, many scenarios I've had in my life, Most High put me in many situations where even sometimes that you might not initially agree with somebody, but you can cut a bit or cut an oath with somebody to where even in the midst of that, there is still shalom, or still peace, or still restitution in that whole matter. Because here, I read this because for me speaking, it demonstrates that even in that aspect of hatred, right? Even if there may be some misunderstanding between brothers, you can still walk away from that when the dust settles in shalom. And I think a lot of times in today's age, that's not the case. What I mean by that is we're not at a level of maturity to put your emotions to the side in some cases, put your emotions to the side to allow restitution to show its face. But we're too quick, and speak to myself first sometimes, right? We're too quick to interject our fleshly thoughts, our carnal mind, to not allow restitution to take place. And I think this lesson is ways and bounds step forward for us to understand that regardless of how we feel, whether we're on the side of righteousness or wickedness, that you should be seeking a mindset of shalom, right? Now you understand the aspect of those that are dealing in wickedness. We understand what their table is going to look like, right? But for those that are seeking the Creator's face, they should be seeking restitution for one another, because we all have lost a piece of something within ourselves. Doesn't matter what it is, right? A lot of times, you're right, we don't really divulge those things. It's like, hey, how you doing? And it's like, yo, I'm good. Deep down, there is a piece that is missing. And somebody, I'm pointing at the screen, right? Somebody on this line has that piece for me. That's an interesting one. Somebody on this line has a piece for me in both senses. Somebody has a piece for me, but I have to go seek that out too. So that's kind of where the two-way street comes into play. So, lots of wheels to turn on this one, though. I appreciate the lesson again being brought forth. Appreciate the Most High placing this on your lap to even bring it forth. So that's all I got.
I'm just gonna say hallelujah, hallelujah. All praise, honor, esteem be to the Most High Yah. May His name be esteemed. Adon, another fire lesson from you, total for your time and your due diligence that you put into presenting information and provoking so much thought. And that's just pretty much the comment I'm gonna make. Just, profound lesson. But I do have like a series of questions to ask because it provoked so many thoughts in me. And I just want to ask a few questions. They don't have to be answered, but I'm just going to ask it just for our minds to continue to focus. So the lesson was very good, focusing on the agreements, unity, restitution of shalom, and the example that you gave with the store was very powerful. And then you asked the question after that, would I even do that for my own brother? So my question is, we're hearing these lessons, but can we see the lessons in our everyday life? Like, can we see where we either fit the unity to the community, or can we see where we have been the ones that restored peace or caused the shalom to leave? And as Saw Yourself just said, can we get our emotions aside to actually let there be restitution? Do we want unity now that's been talked about? Because Adon, you did a great job at explaining that unity does not always mean we're going to think about it exactly alike. And I like the way you broke it down for the feast day. One may think it's agriculture. One may think it's for this, but the core of it, at the heart of it, is the gathering of us being together to become one, And so we're saying all this, but can we see where we're doing this or not doing this, if you get what I'm saying? Or am I bringing unity, or am I bringing disunity? And I'm going to yield.
Amen. Hallelujah. Talk about Moreh. That's profound what you say. That's a total crown to the lesson, because it's like within myself, again, like I said when I first started, these are my own thoughts. It ain't got nothing to do with none of y'all. These are my own thoughts, and by virtue, people benefit. So that's a blessing. But I think about, what have I done to create the conditions that I am not pleased with amongst my own people? So let me go fix me. And like they said, you want to change the world, who do you start with? You start with yourself. So, okay. Anybody else before we close up? Okay, can someone close us out in Tefillah?
Ken, I could do it.
Go ahead.
All hearts and minds clear. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Blessed be the name of Yahweh. Total Rabbi Abba Yah for life. Torah for your set apart word, your Torah. And I ask that we will not just be hearers of your word, but we will be doers also. And I ask that you may forgive us for the wrong that we have done, the things we did intentionally, and the things we have done due to our ignorance. And I ask that you may give us the strength, give us the chokmah, the wisdom to bring your Torah to life. I ask that we may walk out your Torah. And I ask that when people see us, they will see you. I ask that you may circumcise our tongues and our minds so that we can be set apart, righteous men before your face. And I also ask that you may strengthen the women. I want to talk about for being merciful to us, who we have sinned against you, and only against you have we sinned. Please forgive us for the times when we did not give 100%. Forgive us for the times when we were slack regarding your Torah. But I ask that you may give us the confidence to know that we can walk out your Torah. I ask that you may give us the strength to do what is right, even if it seems impossible in our eyes. I ask that you may give us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to look at the examples of our forefathers. We know that Abraham crossed over and he walked out the Torah. We know that Moshe came out of Mizraim or Egypt and he walked out your Torah. So I ask that we will not have any level of self-doubt within ourselves, but I ask that we will have confidence and full surety that if we trust in you, we can walk out your Torah. And I ask that you may give us the strength to put aside pride, vengeance, hatred, jealousy, envy, strife, all those things that are contrary to your Torah, all those things that you are displeased with. But I ask that you may strengthen your people. And I ask that you may strengthen us even more than you strengthen our ancestors, because this world is filled with much wickedness and much confusion. Everything is upside down. But we know that you are Elohim that can do all things. So I ask that you may strengthen the Akim, the brothers on this call, and those who are not on this call, and also strengthen your people, the men and the women, Yisrael, across the four corners of the eretz, this earth. And ask that you may do your marvelous work within each and every one of us and in each and every household. And I ask that we will have one goal, and that is to serve you, our Elohim. Please hear us tough on this prayer for being your will. Blessed you are Yahweh, blessed is your name, Yahweh, and blessed he that comes in the name of Yahweh in truth. Amen, amen, so.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.